Hey guys, welcome to the Courage Collective, and it is Trauma Truth Tuesday, where we do myths versus facts. So this week's myth is that domestic violence is only domestic violence when there's physical abuse involved. And this is something that, unfortunately, I think is a very common belief. If there's no bruises or broken bones, then how can it be abused? How can it be DV? And the fact of the matter is that domestic violence includes so many different types of abuse, and just to kind of go into a few of those different types of abuse, just to maybe provide a little bit of clarity, because I know that there is a point when things start to take that turn where you're questioning, like, okay, is this becoming abusive? So I wanted to give you guys a few different examples of different forms of abuse. So there's emotional abuse, things like humiliation or insults, manipulation, or psychological abuse, things like gaslighting, intimidation, playing mind games, verbal abuse, constant criticism, yelling, threatening people or threatening that person, financial abuse where you're controlling their access to money, preventing their employment, creating debt, sexual abuse, which I do really want to kind of touch on for a moment, because I'm coming across an alarming amount of women who did not believe that sexual abuse can occur within an intimate relationship. And this is where I want to kind of go back to something that I had touched on previously in another segment. When you are complicit you're being complicit for your safety, for your immediate safety. And just because you were complicit with something does not mean that you consented to something. I want to be super clear about that. Just because you complied with something does not mean that you consented to it. There's a difference between wanting to be intimate and being intimate to protect your physical safety, because it becomes jeopardized if you're not complicit. Moving on, there's digital abuse, telecommunications abuse, where you're dealing with somebody who's hacking, tracking your location, monitoring your phone, demanding your passwords, demanding to see your messages, your accounts. And then, of course, there's coercive control, which I think is the most silent, because you are isolating your victim. You are controlling their daily life. You're making all of their decisions. And you're doing it in such a way that, oh, this is what's best for you. And there's something else that I really want to make clear, in that domestic violence and abusive relationships never start with physical violence. They almost never begin with physical violence. Things like verbal abuse, emotional abuse, coercive control, those are all things, and this is, again, something that I talk about a lot. This is when you need to learn how to recognize those early warning signs and trust your instincts when a relationship begins to feel unsafe. I also want you to challenge yourself and challenge the people around you about the belief that domestic violence is only domestic violence or abuse is only abuse when it's physical. And I think that once you really start to look at all of these other things and you compile them together, though there may be no visible injuries yet, no broken bones or bruises yet, just like a broken bone needs to be reset and given time to heal, recovering from emotional abuse, coercive control, financial abuse, you name it, these are all things that you have to give yourself time to reset and heal from. And with that, I just want to leave you with something that I really always try to touch on, and that is that abusers use things like power, control, and your love and care for them as manipulation. And again, that is domestic violence. Bruises may fade, broken bones may heal, but psychological wounds can last years. They can last your entire life if you don't heal from them. And that is something I will always encourage all of us to do, is when we're ready to take those first steps toward that healing journey. So on that note, I leave you guys. Stay safe. As always, tune in next time.